Hello and a very warm welcome to you. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating, the final two verses of Surah At-Tawbah in the Quran. Now, this chapter is famous for being pretty stern, full of serious rulings. So you'd think it would end with a bang, right? But instead, it closes with this incredibly profound message of compassion and strength. So let's dig in and see how these verses give us a blueprint for a balanced life.
And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly sets up the big contrast we're going to unpack. Instead of this loud, thundering finale, what we get is a gentle portrait and this firm, quiet consolation. And that shift in tone, well, it isn't just surprising. It's a massive lesson all on its own.
So let's start with this portrait of leadership. The first of our two verses, verse 128, it paints this really vivid picture of the Prophet Muhammad. And in doing so, it offers a timeless model of what compassionate leadership really looks like from the inside out. Okay, so here's the verse itself. You can almost think of it as an executive summary of the Prophet's character. And believe me, every single phrase is just packed with meaning. We're going to pull apart three key parts to really get the depth of this portrait. So first up, that phrase, from among yourselves. This is absolutely crucial because it sets up a model of leadership that's embedded within the community, not ruling from way up high. He's not some remote, distant figure. He's human, one of them. And that's what makes his empathy and his care feel so real and so powerful. And what's really striking here is just how deep this empathy goes. The original Arabic word suggests a kind of internal distress. This isn't just, abstract sympathy from afar. It's a personal, internal feeling. Your pain genuinely troubles him. It shows a leader who feels the weight of his community's burdens as if they were his own. And finally, you have these two beautiful words, ra'uf and rahim. They really capture the essence of his character, tender, gentle, and full of mercy. But these aren't just personality traits. As our source material points out, they're practical leadership virtues. They show us how firmness in your principles can, and really should, be balanced with a tender touch. And this just ties it all together so beautifully. After this long chapter that's filled with talk of accountability and tests and warnings, the Quran gives us this incredible reassurance that all those stern measures are bonded to mercy. It's such a powerful reminder that real leadership has to blend moral clarity with deep, genuine compassion. And this is the natural next question, isn't it? I mean, you can be the most compassionate, empathetic leader on the planet, but that doesn't guarantee everyone's going to respond well. So how do you handle rejection? How do you deal with resistance? Well, the very next verse gives us the answer. And that leads us right into the second piece of the message, this spiritual and emotional toolkit for dealing with the fact that, sometimes people are just going to turn away. Verse 129 provides this powerful little creed for resilience. Here it is. This verse is both a direct piece of advice to the prophet and, at the same time, this timeless model for every believer. It's a compact formula for what to do when your best efforts are met with a brick wall, when the human support you were counting on just isn't there. The verse kicks off by just stating a tough truth. It acknowledges that not everyone is going to listen, that some people will actively turn their backs on you. And that's not presented as a sign of your failure, but as an expected part of the human experience. The rest of the verse is the playbook for how to respond to that reality. Our sources break this down into this brilliant three-step formula. First, you surrendered the outcome. You say, Allah is sufficient for me. You let it go. Second, you actively affirm your trust with, on him I have relied. And third, you ground yourself in a bigger reality by remembering he is Lord of the great throne, reminding yourself that human rejection doesn't change the ultimate reality of things. That second step centers on this key concept, tawakkul. And it's so important to get this right. This isn't passive resignation. It's not about sitting back and doing nothing. It's the total opposite. It's about taking action, doing your principled, humane work, but anchoring your trust in God, not in the results, not in a panic about what might happen. It's like the ultimate release valve for anxiety. Okay, so now let's pull these two powerful verses together, because what we're looking at isn't two separate ideas, but a single, cohesive model for life and for leadership, a blueprint for keeping your spiritual and emotional balance. I just love this metaphor. Think about a bird, right? To fly, it needs two wings working together in perfect harmony. In this model, the first wing is that deep, embedded compassion from verse 128, caring about others. But the second wing is the divine reliance from verse 129, trusting God with what happens. If you only have one, you can't soar. You'll be totally unbalanced.
So what does this actually look like in practice? Well, it teaches us to be passionate about the well-being of others, but to be gentle and merciful in how we go about it. And at the exact same time, we have to stay completely anchored in that idea of tawakkul, knowing that while we have to put in the effort, the final results are not on our hands. And that balance is what keeps you from becoming bitter or burning out. So this leaves us with a final thought to reflect on. Whether it's in your family, at your job, or in your community, you're going to face challenges and you're going to face resistance. The question is, how can applying these two wings, deep human empathy on one side and unshakable divine reliance on the other, change the way you approach that very next challenge? It's a timeless blueprint for a graceful kind of strength. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.